Okay, so in this particular one, we are going to take your point slope form. We're still looking at point slope form. This time, we're going to convert point slope form, and we're going to convert it into y equals mx plus b. So we're going to convert it to your standard y-intercept form. So in this case, you've got your slope. So we have our slope to be 2, and we have our x value to be -4. And we've got, because that's our x value right there, -4. And then we have our y value of our point to be 5. So now we're going to convert that to y-intercept form, and I've given you the slope and I've given you the point. So the first step here, and I've written down steps for you, is to write in point slope form. So y is equal to, and then x. And now we got to plug in all that stuff. So the opposite of my y value is -5, and then my slope is 2, and then the opposite of your x value is the opposite of -4 is +4. So now I've got step 1 done. I've written in point slope form. Step 2 says to go through and we're going to distribute the slope. And so you still have y minus 5. So that part's not going to change. I haven't changed this left side of the equal sign at all. It's still there. So now we go through and we're going to distribute this slope. So 2 times x is 2x. 2 times 4 ends up being 8. And a positive times a positive is a positive 8. The most common mistake that students do is they'll distribute the first, but they won't go through and distribute the second. That's a very common mistake. So this next thing says, okay, we got to solve for y. I don't care what's on the right side of my equal sign. I just got to solve for y. So the opposite of subtracting y ends up being to add. Or subtracting 5, sorry, I said y. The opposite of subtracting 5 means to add 5 to both sides. So now when you go through and do that, we get y is equal to 2x, because that part's the same. And then 8 plus 5 ends up being, 8 plus 5 ends up being, and if you're not very good at your arithmetic, just use your just use your calculator. And then this part right here is y is equal to mx plus b. So m is your slope, which was 2. That hasn't changed. And then b, remember, is your y-intercept, which in this case is 13. So that's converting. And now we're going to do the other one where I give you 2 points. So now you're on your next page and you're going to have where you have 2 points. So this time I'm going to give you this, but you are given 2 points. So that first thing is we still have to go through and we have to find that slope. So we go through, and remember, this is y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1, and we're going to go through and we're going to find that slope. So these y values of my 2 points are 1 and 4. So it's 4 minus 1. And then the x values of my 2 points are 2 minus -4. Remember, it's always a minus, and then whatever that, so the opposite of -4 ends up being +4. So when I go through and I do my math for my slope, 4 minus 1 is 3. And then 2 plus 4 is 6, reduces to 1/2. So my slope here is 1/2. 1/2, you can have 0.5 if that makes you more happy. I'm going to make this one 0.5 so you can actually have that. And you can look at it and see it. Actually, I'm going to write that out. You can actually use that. So this is 0.5, because some of you, that will make you much happier to have decimals instead of fractions. So then we're going to put in our x value. So my x value, this is 0.1, and this is 0.2. So that x value right there is -4, and my y value ends up being positive 1. So again, we're going to write in point slope form. So y, and we're going to write in point slope. So I've got 1/2 as my slope. I've got the x goes with the x. They go together. The x's go together. So the opposite of -4 ends up being +4. And then my y went with y. So y goes with y. So the opposite of positive 1 is -1. So I've written this, and I'm gonna just do the stuff for part. I'm just gonna do this for the first point, and then I'm gonna pause my video, and I want you to try to do this one on your own and then check it. So in this case, you've got this, and now we've got to convert. Well, we just learned how to do that. And so when I went through and converted, it said, okay, y minus 1 is equal to 1/2 x plus 4. And then those directions were, oh yeah, we have to distribute my slope. So I have to go through and distribute my slope. So that's 1/2 x. Half of 4 is 2. And a positive times a positive is positive 2. And then I get y minus 1. So then we go through and we're going to solve for y. So the opposite of subtracting y is to add y, because I got to do the undo my operation of add, of subtract, which is add. So now we get y, and then my slope was 1/2. That hasn't changed. So my slope is still 1/2 and all of those. And then 2 plus 1 ends up being +3. So there is my y-intercept. So my y-intercept is equal to 3. So right now I'm oops, you guys missed all that. So my y-intercept equals 3. So I'm going to pause this video, and I want you guys to try to do question number point 2 and see what you get. You're going to go through and you're going to fill out all of that information. So you're going to fill out that information about point 2. You're going to go through and you're going to fill out that point. What is that point value for your x and y? And I want you to convert to that. So you need to pause the video, and I want you to try this. Okay, so when we went through and looked, you should kind of have this stuff. Remember, you're going to write in point slope form. So you're going to have the opposite of 4 is -4. You have your slope, which was 0.5. We did this one in decimal. And then you have 2, the opposite of 2 to be -2. So that's in point slope form. So in point slope form, you have got it written. So now we've got to go through and distribute your slope. 0.5 times x is 0.5x. 0.5 times -2 is -1. So I went through and I distributed my slope. So the next piece is now we've got to solve for y. So the opposite of subtracting 4 is to add 4. So you're undoing subtraction. So that means you're going to add 4 to both sides. So -1 plus 4 ends up being 3. And this worked out because y equals 1/2 or 0.5x plus 3 was our first one. And then you get the same thing on point 2. And that should definitely be the same thing because you're finding where those two lines are going to intersect. I mean, not where those two lines are going to intersect, but where that line, those 2 points are going to be on that line. So those 2 points are going to lie on that line. So what do you notice about the point slope? This is like where I want you to write something. What are you noticing about point slope formula? What do you notice about that? So you need to go through and you need to work on this and write that reflection piece so you can learn how to convert to y equals mx plus b.